Hello, I'm MyLinh Hoang. Welcome to Healthful Matters. Today I have a very special guest with me in the studio today, Dan Hawthorne. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being with us. So Dan, you once weighed nearly 600 pounds.
Actually over. I was about 6¼ That was an approximation because scales couldn't weigh me.
6¼
Yeah, that's about what we estimated, yeah.
And as of March 2012, you lost about 250 pounds?
Something like that. I'm at the 310-pound mark now, so.
You're at 310 now. And so that's about 310. You've lost 250 and you weigh 310 now.
I lost half of me already.
Half of you already?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Real good. I can breathe again. I can breathe.
Yeah, and you were just upstairs and we were walking downstairs and you said you couldn't do this years ago.
It would have been a struggle. Just getting off this chair and walking 5 foot would have been a horrible experience for me. I had a bad ankle. I was walking with a cane. It was a mess. I was a mess.
I know we talked about that moment before where you said you came to the realization that, you know, you were in the mirror and there's just something that struck you that you had to lose weight. Tell me more about that.
I lived in Ocean City, Maryland at the time. I grew up here in Hagerstown, but I moved down there for a while. And family would come to visit, friends would come to visit. And each year they'd come to visit, I could see that shock in their eyes, you know, what's happened to Dan? And no one knew what to say to me. What do you say to a 600-plus-pound man? But I could see their eyes, and I knew my life was affecting other people, and especially my mother and people like that. And one night, a hot August evening, I'll never forget it, in Montego Bay on Coastal Highway in Ocean City, I was sitting on my couch, which was my comfort zone for 2 years, eating my pizza and watching TV. And I just started to shake. I started to really sweat, and I was just like starting to think about things. And I got off the couch, which at that point took every bit of effort I had, just getting off the couch, grabbed my cane, walked into the bathroom, and I had what I call my mirror moment. I just looked at that monster staring back at me, and I started to really shake. Just had a battle. I wanted to break the mirror. I wanted to break that man. I was so mad at him. But then a few moments into that, I started to look beyond that image, and I looked into the soul. I saw in those eyes, and I saw Dan Hawthorne in there somewhere. And then a few tears started to fall. And at that moment I said, into my mind, I said, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry what I've done to you. And I guess the Rocky theme maybe started to play in my head a little bit, and at that moment I made up my mind I was going to get my life back. Somehow or another I was going to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sting. So about that moment, from that point, what was the next step after that?
Well, you know, like I said, I was living on the Eastern Shore. All my family and friends were here, good old Hagerstown. And they all wanted me to come back. And when I left for Ocean City, I was going to be a star in radio. I was going to be a big success. And I had to convince all those people it was the right thing to do. Now I had to ask those same people for help to bring me back home because I knew I had to come back here. So I moved back to Hagerstown, my wife and I, and she just transferred her job up here. And of course, I couldn't even walk at this point anymore, so I wasn't working. Had to ask Uncle Sam for a little help. But once all that happened, my family had me set up. They had me a place to live. They bought me furniture, everything. So everyone was doing something for me. It was my turn. I had to give back now. I had to do something for myself and prove to everybody and show them that I could do this because they were concerned. So I just started making simple changes. I found a swimming pool here in town. And I would just jump in this pool and do laps in the pool. Whatever I could do, I'd hold onto the side of the pool and just paddle my legs. Anything to move. And my idea of nutrition and exercise at that time was very limited. Instead of getting the #1 value meal, the burger and fries, I would get the fish instead, thinking that was the right way to go. I've learned a lot since then, but at that point, that's all I knew. But just moving was helping me, just moving a little bit, and I started to feel a little bit better about me. And that kind of helped, you know, the progress of all this.
What do you think was the bigger struggle for you? Was it like the mental matter of getting into things or physical?
Both. I would say it's equal because I hated myself for the longest time, and it was hard to care for myself and push myself to do these things. But once I started doing that, I started to like Dan again, so that kind of helped with that. And the physical part was extremely hard, MyLinh. It was extremely hard because I sat dormant for 2 years on a couch. Television, food, and the couch were my only friends. And so to do anything, it hurt a little bit. I mean, the first time I walked in that gym with my friend Thomas, who helped me through all this, we worked out for 15 minutes, simple things like on a hand bike. I thought I was going to die. I thought, oh my God, is it going to get any easier? Well, it got a lot harder. But the more I did it, the better I felt. gave me power. I felt good. I felt like Rocky. I didn't only hear that song in my ears anymore.
You felt like
I
Rocky.
felt like him, yeah.
Now tell me, what advice would you give to people who want to lose weight through the struggle that you've gone through?
Have that mirror moment every day. I tell people this all the time. Look in that mirror every day. Don't look at that image. Look at the soul like I had to do and tell that person you're worth it, you have value, you have purpose, and you can do this.
Is there a quote or motto that you live by to keep yourself motivated?
A quote or a motto? Oh boy, that's a tough one.
Or just something that you tell yourself every day to keep yourself motivated?
Just you're worth it. You're worth it. You know, you have value. We're all on this earth for a reason. I really believe that. And I live with no purpose. I felt like just a useless nothing for the longest time. And in this journey, I found my purpose. And we all have one. And it's up to us to find it. And just, it could be a simple thing like open the door for someone and say hello. We all have purpose. We all have value.
And you found yours.
Yeah.
Now tell me, what is one thing that you've learned from this experience? I mean, you're still going to keep on going, of course, but what's the one thing you've learned so far?
That we have a lot more power and strength in us than we realize we do. We all have something in us, and you know, we're able to do a lot of things. We not think we can, but put in a little work in there and you'll be surprised. We're all more powerful than we believe we are.
Do you think this, like weight loss, people just think of the number, but it's more of an emotional change?
Absolutely. You got to fix the inside before you can fix the outside. That's what I had to do. I can tell people every day, eat salad and walk on the treadmill, and it's not going to do any good until that little key gets turned into that engine in your mind. And do you like the inside? You got to fix that first. Then everything else kind of falls into place.
Do you have a goal of weight that you want to be at, or you're just going to keep going until like you're healthy?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest questions I get. What's your final goal? I really don't know. I started at 6 1/4. I'm thinking maybe 225, 235, something like that. But you know what? I very rarely weigh myself anymore. It's just I want to feel better, and I'm feeling the changes every day. You know what I can do now I couldn't do before? This is a simple thing, crossing my leg. It feels good to be able to do that. That was a goal. I want to cross my legs again, you know? I want to go sit in the movie theater again. All I set little goals. That's how I do it, you know? I do a mile on the treadmill every day before my workout. That's my standard getting ready to get the good stuff in. Next week I'll do a mile and a quarter. The week after that, you know, I'm just going to keep trying to get better. That's the way I look at it. And I keep setting small goals.
And setting small goals.
Yes.
That's such an inspiration, Dan. And you know what? We wish we could talk more. We're actually running out of time right now. But this is not the last of Dan. We'll definitely hear more of Dan. And thank you for joining me in this week's Healthful Matters.